What's not fading and will not fade very easily will be the monsoon forecast that came from the Met, indicating that it could be yet another year of subpar rains, 93% of the long-range average, and the fact that it would be the second consecutive year of subpar rains. What does that do to already distressed rural economy, and what might it mean to inflation? Those are some of the questions that will rise in the days to come. Professor Abhijit Sen from JNU, former member of the Planning Commission and the 14th Finance Commission, joins us now. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, first my question would be really on inflation, food inflation in particular. We appear to have put the lid on it in the last 12 months or so, but another subpar monsoon might increase both food inflation and inflation expectations, you think?
Well, it could, but there is one other big thing which is playing out, which is world commodity prices are subdued, projected to remain pretty subdued. And I think we often tend to overestimate the impact of output in the domestic output and underestimate the impact of world prices. So I think there are these two things which are happening. And I am not as concerned on the inflation front as on other matters, except to point out that there are perishable items where shortages, especially sustained shortages, will have an impact. And not necessarily immediately, but running into some second half of this fiscal.
Okay. Dr. Sen, good morning. Thank you for joining us. You know, the Ministry of Agriculture did put out the impact of the unseasonal rains on the Rabi crop. They did mention that 9.5 million hectares was damaged because of the unseasonal rains that we had, and the wheat output will go down by 5%. Now, if we do get a second year of subpar monsoon, then what could the impact on the Rabi crop be, you think?
On the Rabi crop, you see, the main effect of this forecast relates to the Kharif crop.
Okay.
I mean, it will only be the residual moisture in the Rabi, yeah.
Sure. If you could give us the impact then on the Kharif crop that you expect to see?
See, roughly the forecast as it stands would mean that the output would be about the same level as it is this year, which is somewhat lower than last year, but is not disastrous, and certainly within the capability of our coping, especially in rice and wheat, with the stocks that we have.
Okay.
As far as Rabi is concerned, the problem this year has been unseasonal rains, not the lack of rains as the current forecast that you're looking at. So I think one has got to get the parameters right before you make any forecast.
Okay.
As of now, things are early. We should actually say that, you know, there is a probability of an agricultural year not very different from the current year, which means two below par years, one after another, which does have its implications. But I don't think one should actually throw up in one's hand and say, no, it's a disaster is turning up at the face.
Okay, no, I mean, your point is taken about food prices, availability of global commodities at a very reasonable price. But rural distress perhaps is another kettle of fish altogether. The rural distress has stemmed partly from the previous
The rural distress is much the more important problem, yeah. Because what you have with the two things that I've just talked about, which is low monsoon and low prices, both of them tend to reduce farm incomes.
So you think that this is going to be a huge spell of bad news for the rural economy? You don't see it recovering anytime soon? I mean, another one good Rabi would not be enough, the FY16 Rabi?
Oh, it might, but the point is that Rabi has an impact which is more limited regionally than the Kharif impact. Okay, so the point is that I think farm incomes is a matter that we should really be worrying about rather than inflation or...
Okay. And how will the government seek to ameliorate it? Will it mean that the fiscal limits will have to be loosened, and the government will have to step in with something like an NREGS kind of support in terms of alternative jobs and alternative incomes. Basically, is the fisc under threat, and what should the government be doing?
See, obviously, if you've got to compensate for incomes going down, that's roughly, 15% of the nation's incomes come from agriculture. It's not going to, even if it's a decline of 5% or so, it will have an impact if you want to actually ameliorate that fall in incomes. However, there are already things in place. The NREGA exists. So all that you have to do is to implement it properly. As far as the other parts of it is concerned, there's disaster relief, which has been used now to cope with the unseasonal rains, and there is crop insurance. It doesn't work terribly well, but where it works, it is an important source of insurance, and this government is actually has been saying that it's going to go ahead and expand the insurance coverage a lot. But all of them will cost money. But again, when it comes to cost of all these things, again, we are really talking about, my sort of understanding is maybe 3,000, maybe 5,000 crores more at the outside. And that's something that the economy of our size can easily absorb. I think it only becomes, an issue when, you say, okay, anything for agriculture is just a bit like, a sop given to people who deserve no better.
Okay. Dr. Sen, I just wanted your own view on geography-wise, where would the highest concern be? We were just speaking to the Met Department a while back, and they did mention that the monsoons are likely to be weaker this time around in the northwest and central India region. In your own assessment, what would be the weakest pockets, and where would the highest concern be this time around?
See, I don't really have any forecast of mine. But if the Met Department is saying that the maximum impact is going to be on the northwest, followed by the center, then in fact the output effect will be relatively less. If it's the peninsular India which is impacted the most, then the output effect will be the highest. And that's simply because most of northwest India is irrigated.
Okay. So one final question. The 14th Finance Commission gave more money, or at least unencumbered money, to the states, and as a result some of the central schemes have also been shifted to the states. Would it be your view that the social welfare schemes and the rural distress schemes may be better administered this time, probably because the states have a little more money and a little more freedom?
Well, again, I think the point is that there are two sides to this. One is, yes, you're absolutely right. States have more money in their hands to do whatever they can, and those states which are particularly concerned about their own farmers may have the flexibility to interact more quickly than wait for the center to come into it. On the other hand, I've been looking at the budget figures of the state governments and on rural development and agriculture. These are the things I'm concerned about the most. Taken together, the expenditures projected in the state budgets has not gone up at all since last year. So we are looking at nominal stagnation in expenditures, and the states are not showing the signs that they are going to spend more on these sectors than the center did.
Okay, that's interesting, sir. Where are they spending more money? I mean, if you have studied the FY16 budgets of states, where are they putting the extra money that they're getting from the center under the Finance Commission?
See, there is some of it in the social sectors, that is health and education and those, but it's not very large. It's 6%, 7%, 8%. I'm talking about a study of about 16 out of the total number of states.
Okay.
So that's not all the states, so things might actually turn out to be somewhat different. But the one I was concentrating on, agriculture and rural development, things are not too good in terms of budget predictions. But obviously, I mean, if the drought really bites, if there is a drought, states might actually spend more on their own side. But to in fact say that just because these states have got some more money, the centre shouldn't spend, would be, or centre shouldn't take the responsibility, would be, I think, stretching it a bit far.
No, I don't think anybody is making that conclusion, sir. Maybe not even the central government, going by the transfers they have made after
No,
the
I don't think
unseason.
they can. I think politically, I think politically, no one can.
Okay, fair point, sir. Thank you very much for joining us with your first thoughts on how the rural distress might play out. Okay.